you have any questions for Teddy as an editor, or if you have any questions for me about the competition, you can unmute yourself and ask. You can throw it in the chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with. And if not, I have plenty of other questions.
I got one.
Awesome. What's up, Omar?
Eddie, I'm just curious if if you ever talk to make friends, network with other editors at other companies where you might say, hey, this project wasn't right for AfterShock, but maybe you should have a look at it, or vice versa, where they say, hey, we took a pass on this because we're doing something very similar, but maybe AfterShock has a home for it because I don't know that you guys have done this genre or this type of angle on, you know, this type of story. I'm just curious if that happens and if there's shop talk kind of in between companies.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, yes. I will say that editors always talk. One, you know, like, you know, you have to get this person on your story. We're also trying to hide. As much as we're trying to be like, hey, this person is awesome, you should go take them. We're also like, we want them. So like, I want to try to sign this artist and this writer and stuff to deals. So there's a game of like, we got to sign that person, or, oh, damn, they beat us to that writer and stuff. We want to do a story with them. But yeah, no, 100%. We're always talking to, you know, different editors. I mean, Comic-Cons and stuff. I mean, when I'm sitting at the AfterShock booth, pretty much any editor that Mike or Christina, who worked at Marvel with Mike and now is our managing editor, people are coming up all day long and being like, oh, how you guys doing? You know, have you seen this artist? Are you reading this book? You know, we're always talking to different people. There's been a few times where I've passed pitches and been like, in passing, like, hey, I have a pitch for you that I think, you know, would be good, or this person isn't at our level yet, but, you know, I want them to get a job and stuff like that. So there's definitely we're always talking. And that's one of also an element that is good, but also if you aren't, kind of going back to that last question is, you know, if you're not professional, if you don't hit your deadlines, if you know, are a jerk going in between emails and stuff and all that stuff, we're also like, oh, you're doing a book with them? Well, you know, they were late every single time, you know, sending in their scripts or whatever. So that's another element that even though we could be talking good, we're also sometimes being like, hey, watch out. Because as editors, you kind of want to watch each other's back. Just like if you're a creator, you know, if you're a writer, you'd be like, hey, that editor sucks. He's the worst. Like, don't Teddy sucks as an editor. Don't go be with, you know, don't go there, like whatever. So the same thing with editors. We're always trying to, you know, help each other out as much as we can.
Cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. I do got to jump to another Zoom, but it's great seeing all you guys.
Hey, sure.
I got something if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to get both your perspectives on this, both as someone who I imagine approves final drafts and someone who has submitted many a final draft. How am I supposed to know as like a writer that I have a final draft on my hands, that it doesn't need to be refined for?
Do you want to go for the writer side first? I don't even know if I think I'm pointing the right way, right?
Yeah, I think I'm here for you.
Well, whatever.
Wherever you're
Everyone's,
at.
yeah, wherever.
Yeah, I definitely have an answer to that. That's not really an answer. The way I have a writing mentor for my screenwriting stuff, and it's funny. He always uses this line that's, I can't remember who said it first, but like a poem is never finished; it's just abandoned. I can't remember who said that originally. It really, from what I understand, there's never an end, a final draft, right? There's just the draft that you kind of have to get out there. That's how I feel about it. Whether it's because of deadlines, whether because it's gotten to a point that you're just kind of editing where commas are, or like words that aren't really changing the story, or what was the third part? Yeah, you're just kind of can't figure out where it goes next. So I always think that I let my deadlines kind of speak for me. I just kind of let it go when it's time. I I bet I can probably go back to scripts that I think are final drafts, and I can make them completely different stories in a week. It's tough. But I always have, when I start projects, I always have an idea of what I'm trying to say. And as long as that draft is getting to the point of saying what I'm trying to say with the story, it's a finished draft.
Okay, I
I
like
like
it.
that. That's a good. Yeah, that was good. To go off that, I would say, one kind of with the whole there's just never an end. We have this like editor's manifesto that Mike gives to over editors and stuff. So when I got on, he gave it to me. It's like a bunch of bullet points, or whatever. And one of them says that like a story's never finished. But I will say that there also could be when I'm writing stuff, one of the ways I try to figure out is like, okay, is this at the end point? Is just think back at it, like look back at it and be like, all right, let me just think about this, that I'm not the writer. Let me just think about this as like I'm the consumer. If this is a TV show I was watching, or a book I was reading, or a video game I was playing, if I got to this point, would I be satisfied? Did it connect all those loose, story threads that I was messing around with? Did it hit all those things that you spent all that time reading about, or playing in a video game, or watching a TV series, whatever it might be. When you get to that end point, when you get to that point in your script, if you look back at it, do you go, oh yeah, no, this is good? If I was leaving the movie theater, me and my friends would be like, oh, that was a really good, story. And, obviously there's elements that was a really good story and I can't wait to see where this goes, right? If you go see an MCU movie, it's, oh, Shang-Chi was really good. That was a great movie. And now at the end, you're like, oh my God, the possibilities that are happening here after this is sick. But, you want to make sure that as the reader, as someone consuming it, are they going to be pissed off if they get to the end of your story and you're like, this is the halfway point? Why is it ending already? Or this didn't answer anything? What the hell? What did I just waste my time here for? So I would say that's one of the biggest things, is making sure that not just as the writer, but like just kind of take yourself out of that. Like, would I be pissed if I got to this point after putting the time in on this story?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question.
That was a good question. I like that.
Yeah, right.
I'm thinking about a few pitches in my mind right now, actually.
Let's see if I can put you on the spot, Teddy.
Nice.
Other than AfterShock books, what are you? What comics are you enjoying right now?
Right now, I think past like month of stuff. I actually went to the comic book store today to finally pick up a bunch of my stuff because I hadn't been there in a hot minute. I'm trying to think. I think right. Is this? Yeah, the fall I've been reading recently. That's been pretty good. I suck at reading my books. I think it's because I read things all day long and then I get to my books and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. But yeah, it's been really good. Black Cotton by Brian Hawkins, which mentor. Just picked that up today. Issue like 6, I think, or 5, whatever it might be. That's
the last one of the series. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's been really great. I always go back, this because I talk about this a lot. I always go back to Spider-Man Hunted, a little freaking issue thing they did. That was so good back in, I forget when it was, like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago now. Pretty much anything Captain America, I'm all game for. I think that's probably it. Right now I'm grinding a lot of TV shows after work, so I've been kind of on the,
So what shows then?
I've been watching a lot of Hawkeye, new nice. Hawkeye one. I woke up at 5 a.m. the day they dropped because I'm a sicko apparently, and I want to do mostly I wanted to do 2 episodes before I got to a meeting, and I knew someone on my comic scene would, be talking about it and spoil something. So I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch the 2 episodes to beat everyone, so they didn't spoil anything for me. Great British Bake I've been watching a lot. 'Cause like I said, former chef, so I'm always down to watch food stuff. I mean, literally, when I got on here, I was saying how right now I'm watching a documentary about airplane food and how it gets made and delivered to the planes in like 12 hours. So I was just watching that as a craziness. But yeah, I mean, I'm all about finding cool random stories and just I'm really big into documentaries and like learning stuff. So I'm always watching different weird things. I was watching like the things Minecraft had to overcome, during the development last night because it looks like such a basic game, but it's very complicated actually behind the scenes. But yeah, a lot of stuff. What are you guys listening to or watching, reading?
I feel like I've spent hours watching the Beatles documentary and it's still not even halfway through.
Oh yeah, I saw my list. Yeah, it's on my list.
It's like 9 hours long, but I'm loving every second of it. That's what I've been spending my time on.
Yeah, I went to go watch it and I was like, I don't think I have that time right. That's like every night I go to watch it. I'm like, I can't sit down. I know I'm gonna fall asleep if I put this on right now. Like I have to go watch something. Yeah, no, that's on my list. That's good.
What are you all reading right now?
Death of Doctor Strange.
That's fun.
Human Target. It's Sheriff of Babylon, I believe, same guy. And yeah, I actually had a question about pitches.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm afraid to cite, I know you said like 1 to 2 pages. So, but like, how much of the story should be revealed in the pitch? So like, and how long you are planning for it to be? Is that also something that would go in a pitch typically? Like, this is something I imagine to be like 40 issues or whatever, or just 6. Like, okay, so
yeah,
that's it. I have a very like vague idea of where I want to start and end. Everything in the middle's not set in stone yet, but how am I supposed to write it? Like, do I even need the end to have a pitch? Do I need a middle to have a pitch?
Yeah. All right. So here, I got you. So first thing is, like I said, email, your name, whatever. So an editor get back to you. After that, just a log line, right? So going back to the Chicken Devil whole thing, it's like Frank Castle, if he owned a Tennessee Hot, chicken restaurant and he sucked a killing, have that log line up there that can just immediately just boil down your story to the, quickest way possible. I mean, think about like if you were pitching like a movie to your friends or a game, right? You're going to be like, go see Ghostbusters. It's this, blah, blah, blah. And you drop it down to a few lines. That's the thing that you're trying to do with the log line. After that, then you're trying to, start saying those things of this is a YA or this audience is like more mature. It's a comedy, it's a thriller, trying to kind of just giving those few elements to the person who's reading it so they know, okay, I can quickly be like, okay, this is a YA fantasy book. And it's 100 pages long. So I could quickly decide, does that fit in our wheelhouse? Are we looking for, a fantasy book, or do we need a YA book? What's the log line? I could kind of very quickly get a lot of information from that. Then after that, you want to start breaking it down. So we usually try to do a breakdown by issue. At AfterShock, we go between 4 and 5 issues in our like arcs. And we greenlight things in arcs. So basically think about it, it's like we're greenlighting a season. That's in oftentimes is a contained story. It's, like if it doesn't get picked up for another arc, it's still a good story. But if it does popular, if it's well, if there's potential for another, Chicken Devil or whatever, or something like Animosity for us did like 6 or 7 different arcs. But at first, if you read that first arc, it's a good story. So if it wasn't popular, it was still a good story, but it was popular, so it kept going on and on. So then you want to kind of start breaking that down, right? You don't want to get stuck in all the crazy details of it, but you do want to be like, okay, in issue 1, It starts off here, introduce this character, they fall into love with this person, and then they find out that they're cheating on them. And that then goes into the second issue, and then you start breaking down the second issue, and maybe like a paragraph, 2 paragraphs if you start getting crazy, maybe 3 paragraphs if you need it, for each like issue breakdown. And then again, for AfterShock, it might be 4 issues, might be 5 issues. If it's 6, if it's something at Marvel, whatever, obviously they go on for a really long time, but most time stories aren't like that. Most of the time they're not running for like 700 issues, especially if you're first trying to start out. Even, at Marvel, there's no creative team that's done like, 700 issues of the same thing. They've broken up. There's been different times, different characters and stuff in that, different creative teams, different, events that they're kind of going in and out of. So you just want to break down those issues, and then that's pretty much it, honestly. If you do that whole log line, this is the, target market, this is the length of the book, this is the genre, then those issue breakdowns. That kind of gives everything the editor needs to know. You can also at the end, if you want, do some character breakdowns of, maybe a few main characters. But I would also say don't go too crazy with it, because if you do it right, we should be able to get a feel of the characters from the issue breakdown. But it's also helpful sometimes to be like, oh, okay, the main character is, like a 16-year-old girl from, like Jersey City. And, she lives in, with her grandma or whatever. She goes to school. She kind of sucks at math, but she's good at English, whatever. Those things can help an editor be like, okay, that's the character that I should picture in these scenarios, in this pitch and stuff like that. But don't go too overboard, because if you do it the right way, we should kind of get it from the issue breakdown. But definitely you could add those if you have the time or want to.
I have a random follow-up to that. Let's say I pitched a 6-issue story. The first issue comes out, and unexpectedly it's like the biggest hit, right? But like my arc was a 6-issue arc, and that was kind of my story. Would you stop me before like issue 5 or 6 get finished to like change the ending to let it go further, or do you let the 6 go and then figure out what goes after? Like, would you kind of change or tell the writer to change their ending so they can run for 12 issues instead of 6, or 40 instead of 6? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say no. I would say when you start changing like last second like that, oftentimes what starts getting messed up is the story that people are kind of vibing with and everything. So in that, something with like animosity, right? I have to get my ringer fixed on my phone. It's just ridiculous. All right. Something like animosity. We did, I think 6, maybe like 8. I forget what the original arc was, but that was, came out and it just clicked. People enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we had it, there was always the possibility of like, okay, this girl and, Jesse and Sandor, the girl and their dog, going across the country. These animals just woke up and, they can talk and, take revenge against the humans. That whole story in general had the opportunity to expand out, her going from New York over to the West Coast and everything. There was a lot to play with. We've had different spin-off series like Tales of Animosity for Free Comic Book Day, Animosity Evolution, that explore different elements of the story. But at the end of the day, it was all about, okay, the first arc, if this is gonna be the right story and be told in the correct way, stay the course, finish that arc out. And then once we get to the end, we'll expand and figure out the next arc. Marguerite Bennett is, brilliant writer and stuff. So she already had thought about, if this was popular, where would she go next? And I think as all writers, you're always thinking about like what's the story after the story, kind of. But sometimes there's stories that you're like, it's done, even if it's popular. Like, I'm sorry, this is the story. This is the best part of the story. There's no need to tell something else, or you find different ways to expand on that, right? If all of a sudden it blows up, you're like, well, this is the main story, kind of like with like Better Call Saul, right? That obviously popular series and everything for the original, but then they were like, okay, instead of trying to make up a story with these, same characters for Breaking Bad, let's go back and do this Better Call Saul and talk about it for us. So that, there's different ways that you can go back to a story without trying to expand it out when it's not needed. It's kind of like, long answer is no, I would not tell the writer to change their story just because it's doing well. I would say stay the course, and then we'll figure out from where we're gonna, if you have a better idea with Jesse and the dog, we can expand it out. With Baby Teeth, same thing, you can expand it out. But if not, we could find other ways to, with different characters and stuff, to tell stories that don't hurt the original story, what people like about it and love about it and fell, for those characters with.
Awesome. I was gonna say, Mike, if you get a chance, look up. I recently read an interview after Sweet Tooth ended. There's an interview with Jeff Lemire and Damien Lindelof about the entire series itself, and Jeff Lemire goes into talking about how he always knew what the end of Sweet Tooth was going to be. So he had I think his original pitch was 6 or 8 issues, whatever it might be. And he always knew he was going to tack on this extra issue that showed the aftermath of this world. So his idea was 6 to 8 issues, and then it went well. So he went onward to 40 issues, something like that. But he does go into the decisions that were made. Basically, they were trying to keep expanding. So he figured out how to get a side quest in there that added 6 to 8 issues, and then reel back into the main story. So it's interesting to see how someone like Jeff Lemire, who his original pitch was the story, the beginning and an end in a 6 to 8 issue contained thing. And then he kind of reworked it to be longer because obviously Sweet Tooth was big and awesome. So yeah, look it up. It's Jeff Lemire and Damon Lindelof talking about Sweet Tooth. I think it was originally in Comic Book Resource or something like that. All right. I think that's where we'll cut it. We've been chatting for about an hour. If any of you all have any more questions, don't hesitate to email me. If you have any more questions for Teddy, you can email me and I'll forward them along. I can get you an answer. Like Teddy said, if you find him on LinkedIn, it's not hard to find his email. But if you want to go,
email's there. My LinkedIn's up. Always on it. Hit me up.
If you want to go the easier way, we have a quick just hello@negativespacecomics.com. That email goes straight to me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Awesome. Thank you all for coming. Thank you